Today is a doozy. Today is a show that has been 40 something years in the making. Okay. We've had a lot of guests. We've had people that I boast about and that I say it's the best show we've had. But as of today, nothing is topping this show. And today we have the number one, the reason I'm here. We have the one and only Momma Rose. Momma Rose,
Mm,
welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is there's a lot going on here, a lot to unravel, but really this is something that my mom and I have talked about for quite some time, and this is a really important moment because as Tyler mentioned in our last show, I've been kind of busy doing a lot of things on the backside of things. Haven't been too much in the podcast side, but there's good reasons, nothing bad. And today is a moment of celebration, in my opinion, because today I want to celebrate my mom in more ways than one. Because number one, without her, there's no me. So anybody that cares for me knows, we have to thank Mama Rose for that. That's a big part.
Thank
But
you.
one of the biggest things is many of you know that I grew up in a comic book shop. It's a weird thing to say because it's not something you hear often, but a lot of the dialogue over the years, you've heard the store, you've heard my dad, you've seen the logo, you've seen my dad on the logo. That's most of what we've heard, in the public eye. And today I'm here to set the record straight because right now I am officially rebranding and relaunching this legacy brand that my family and my parents had when I was a kid called Brain Damage Comics. So Brain Damage Comics started off as a comic book shop in Brooklyn, New York, before I was born, and it went into me being born and into the 90s, and then it was gone. We won't go into the details of that stuff, but this was something that was really important in the world of entertainment. One, for me, because I was surrounded by everything that's in my room right now. Everybody understands why I'm who I am and what I'm into.
Mhm.
But, my parents, and that's where I want to stress the importance here. My parents were the ones that were doing this in a time where comic books were taboo. It wasn't something that was successful in most people's eyes. Marvel was almost bankrupt. It was not something that people were proud to have in a sense. And, my mother was the one that really led the forefront of everything that went on with the store. So I want to give that moment here because, again, my dad's on the logo, but we have to remember in life, there are always people behind the scenes that make things
Mhm.
happen. And, it's important for me to share that without her, that store wouldn't have been and it wouldn't have gone where it went. And I wanted to take today to celebrate that and understand that me bringing this brand back is a big celebration for her
Yeah.
because we sold comics. Now we create comics. So, Mom, I want to just thank you from the bottom of my heart for, guiding me and showing me the way and letting me absorb all this nonsense as a kid and taking me to see Child's Play 2 at 8 years old because Tyler knew it was going to come up because it is such a pivotal part of my life. And being able to watch The Toxic Avenger 2 and number one out of everything, thank you for introducing The Legend of Zelda in my life because
Mm.
you are the reason that I am the fan that I am. And
Me
Tyler,
too.
when
Mhm.
those pictures came out for the movie, my mother and I were beside ourselves
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it is just like
Yes.
there's so many full circle moments happening,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and yeah, just
Mhm.
it's important because we live our lives and we tell stories, and a lot of times, at least for me, my stories centered around getting through difficult times. So for those that don't remember, my father passed away many, many years ago, about 13 and a half years ago. And I struggled with it for a while, as most kids would. But, behind the scenes, I was trying to cope with, finding ways to get through it. And for me, I like to celebrate things and I like to make jokes and humor and laugh and all positive stuff to kind of get through those moments. And I spent a lot of time kind of putting him on a pedestal, but I really forgot that it wasn't just him. He was a part of it for sure. But, my mother was the one that toughed through a lot of stuff, and people don't know the life that she led and the things that she went through. My mom didn't have it easy before me, during, my childhood, up until now. So I just wanted to take that moment and let her talk and, the importance of the store, what that was like, building a store in the 70s where again it wasn't like comic book shops every, it's a lot more prominent now. But, what was that like, working with dad and coming to that idea from just having boxes in the house,
Right.
to having a store?
Well, when he spoke to me about it, he wanted to do it, but he didn't want to do it because he didn't have a lot. We had like maybe 5 boxes of comic books. So I kind of pushed him, and I had to go speak to the landlord because our store was right downstairs from where we lived, and it wasn't easy, but I was able to convince them, and they gave us the store. And he still didn't want to open because he was embarrassed about the 5 boxes. So I told him, and I said, open it with the 5 boxes. That's it. That's how we're gonna start. So my brothers came and they helped them put up all the shelving and painting, and that's how we started. We started with 5 boxes, and I think maybe in less than a year we were doing conventions at the Statler Hilton Hotel.
Yeah,
And
which we were
that's where
just we were
we
just
we
talking
met
about.
a lot of the Star Trek actors, and we met Uhuru and Scotty, and um, yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but we did, and we started. He started buying um, Silver Age comics, and that's what brought the store up. That he was really into the Silver Age and the Golden Age comics, and we went to conventions, and while he was looking around buying from other people, I was manning the tables. So yeah, it was a 2 people thing, and sometimes 3. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
remember I
how we
remember
started.
those days of
Hmm.
just you had to sell, but I remember dad would tell you like sell a couple of comics, right? Like sell
Yeah,
2 3 comics and then pack it up.
yeah, yeah. But
It's
we
it's
did,
great.
we did. Sometimes we did pretty good. The it's like everything today, even back then, was bringing all that stuff out and then having to bring it all back. But it was it was good because what we brought back was new stuff for us. It was old for somebody else, but it
Right.
was new for us, and it was new for our community because we had our customers that would come. We had loyal customers that would come looking for specific books, and it was pretty good. It was not easy, but it was a pretty good, business that we were into.
Awesome. I mean, the one thing I will remember always was, as a kid, you don't see everything that's going on, but, you guys included me a lot, and I remember going to conventions and, you guys would give me $10, $20. You'd tell me, go look around, go find something. I would almost always buy a VHS tape of some Japanese animation there was no dubbing, ladies and
None
gentlemen.
whatsoever.
And I watched and I'm wearing proof. So I don't even know if my mom saw, but I just got this hat, okay? For anybody
I
that's
can't
educated
see.
in the old school days. This is Astro Boy,
Oh my goodness.
original.
Your father
This
loved him.
this was like my
That was one of
thing.
his favorites. Yeah.
Like my dad treated me like I was his Astro Boy essentially, and I remember picking up those tapes and going home and not knowing what the hell was going on, but loving every minute of it. And my dad would always tell me to find something else. Oh, go find Gigantor, go find Go 13, go find Akira, all this stuff that now when people think about it, it's like, oh, it's so old, but it's like that's where it came from. That's the roots of
Right.
everything.
It's all
So
vintage now.
Right.
yeah, my back hurts from it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you
crap.
used to pass around in school? Did you guys have the notebooks that had the basically the fan translations that you would
So
pass around?
I saw that more in high school because I know
Yeah.
that you're a youngin,
You sure?
so
Yeah.
I'm an old man, and yeah, we
Mhm.
during my young grades, I was probably the only one that was into that stuff. Like any
Okay.
friends that would come over, or I'd go to their house, I'd take tapes to them and stuff like that. Like I
Mhm.
remember a specific one that's funny enough to this day, I have not found an English dub for, which is a character named Doraemon. A lot of people know the character, but I had one of like it was one of the movies from like 88 or 89. And to this day, I've looked on YouTube, Japanese only.
Yeah.
Insane. I'm like, how has this not been fan dubbed or subtitled? Still have no idea. But it's the core of just the sheer discovery, and those were comic book conventions.
Right.
Comic book
Yeah.
conventions for the most part are not that unless they specify that they're a convention. If they're a con, they're something
Mm.
else. They're including all the pop culture because that's where the money is. But
Right.
those days, and if you think about it, as my mom
There
said,
was money
they
those
had,
days.
yeah, they had Star Trek and they had people
Mhm.
there. Like I met Jim Lee in the Marvel days. I remember
Mhm.
like that's who I wanted to meet. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was a different era. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, because I think you told me a story once about like there was a particular what's one of the most expensive books that you guys dealt with. Do
Well,
you remember?
me personally, I purchased Action Number One for
Crazy.
15,000, and then we brought it
Back
home.
then,
And we got it refurbished. Then we sold it for 35.
Action Comics, you think
That's
about that.
wild.
That was the one and only one that went through my hands that I touched and I purchased. But he had a lot of old comic books, but that was my favorite.
Yeah. I think he had amazing fantasy and,
Hmm.
like I remember seeing them on the walls. So that's like the
Hmm.
big thing for me. Like nobody was allowed to touch that stuff. So,
Right,
you
right.
know, but I definitely wanted to ask you about the distribution side because for the world, people know of Diamond, and Diamond recently this year went filed for bankruptcy and Diamond is
Oh,
gone. But I always talked about like when we dealt with Diamond, it was one little location or two
it
little
was a.
locations in Brooklyn, right?
They were in. I think it was in Long Island City. They started in that where the Kosciuszko Bridge is. We had to cross that. I remember that route because I hate it. I had to go pick up the books,
Yeah,
so I used to go there, and it was like a industrial area. They had a
right.
little tiny warehouse, and then from there they moved to Sunset.
Yeah, they were closer to
Yeah,
us.
they
Right,
moved to like 20 something street, and that's when they got a little bigger.
right. And
Hmm.
then you think about them now and how like what a disruption, unfortunately, it has to the comic book industry now as a whole because they were really the number one distributor of the world. And
Oh, okay.
where we're talking about in the 80s and the 90s, they had one
Hmm.
warehouse. And I
Hmm.
remember going there with you guys and
Yeah.
them kind of having the electric gate and then just having stuff
Yeah.
stocked in a
Yeah. It was.
warehouse. Crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
me
remember
seeing
that.
everything I couldn't have.
Right.
It's like, why aren't you
Yeah.
getting that to the store? Because I'm not buying it for you. It was crazy times.
Yeah. We
Did you ever
started
try to
that.
use the shop like that, Benny? Get all the stuff you wanted, like, hey, this will sell well. Buy this so I can read it. And then
Well,
it
there
sits on a shelf.
well there was good bargains that I had that didn't work in my favor, but in hindsight they did, which was, my parents spoiled me. Let's throw that out there. It's really important. I had pretty much whatever I wanted, and I'm very grateful to that.
Mhm.
And there was a point where I had like every video game for Nintendo, not even exaggerating. And there was
Right.
a point where, you know, my dad tried to make a deal with me, which he didn't have to make a deal with me. It was his money, right? But he's like, why don't we bring your games to the store across the street, and you could rent them out, and that you split the money. That you get allowance money from that. And I never saw a penny of that because obviously he was buying me other stuff. But then people would like never return the games, so then they were just disappearing left and right. So I
Mhm.
just remember my collection just slowly getting smaller by the
Mhm.
week, and I'm like, I don't like this idea anymore, you know.
Mhm.
But you know, when it comes to the comics, I will admit I was not a very involved comic book reader because one, I wasn't really allowed for the most part.
Me
My dad
either.
was, yeah, we were very, you know, you get them, you bag them, you tag them, you put them on the wall if you're helping,
I saw them,
you
yeah.
know, and
I
it was a
was I
very
was
strict,
mostly doing that. I was mostly um doing that, selling, just
yeah,
buying, selling. I didn't read too much. I wasn't really. Your father was into the comic books. I was into the business part of it, the
right,
bank and the mailing and contacting customers and getting things refurbished and fixed, and that's what I
yeah,
did. I wasn't
you were a
the
very
book that
important
I
part.
liked the most was Silver Surfer.
He was
Mhm.
awesome. And it's funny that
Mhm.
out of the small collection that I have left over from everything, I have a Silver Surfer one. Funny enough, it's one of the few that
I
I
lost
have.
mine, but I did have. I had the collection.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
had a lot, you know, and in
Mhm.
reality, we it goes back to saying, yeah, I had everything, but at one point we didn't have anything. So, you know,
Yes.
with all success, you know,
Mhm.
sometimes there's tragedy, and you
Right.
know, we won't go into too many deep wells with that stuff. But the one thing I wanted to ask you to maybe talk a little bit about was, you know, a very mutual person we know that maybe worked in the store that has been a guest on the show before, you know, that has kind of grown to become an artist in his own right in the world of Marvel and DC. And you know, be nice to hear, you know, your thoughts and memories of working with Damien maybe.
Damien, I remember when Damien came to the store, he needed a job. He was going through a lot, and um, I wasn't too much involved, but I remember when he came and I'm sorry, Daddy had said no to him, but Damien didn't give up. He came back, and then he spoke to him and told him a situation, and then he gave him a job. And when I saw Damien not too long, well, yes, a few years ago, you know, because Damien kind of disappeared. We all disappeared from each other. And when he came around, he told me how important it was for him to be in the store because that's where he realized, you know, about his art and what he wanted to do. And thanks to Daddy, he is where he is today. Mhm.
Yeah,
Damien Scott. Yeah.
and it's crazy because you know, you think
I
back
couldn't believe
about,
it
right.
when I saw him that he was doing what he's doing. I'm so very proud of him, and I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of
Thank you.
you for the man that you have grown up to be. Your responsibility and what you do. You're doing what you love to do, and I've always told you that do what you love to do. Because I used to have a job that I hated so much, and I used to drag myself to work and I hated that job. You know, I'm an electronics technician. So that was what I liked. I like fixing the phones and running wires and working out in the street, putting phones up. When I had to go into an office, they gave me a they gave me a little bag with a water bottle and some rags. And I was like, what's this for? Oh, you're gonna go clean. I think you're gonna send me to Wall Street to the stock exchange. And I said, oh, good, I'm going to go to the stock exchange. They wanted me to go clean the calculators. And I said, no, no, I didn't go to school to clean calculators. And they said, no, you're going to start from the bottom. And I said, no, this is too low for me. And I quit because
Yeah,
it wasn't what I liked. And then I found a job with the phone company and I worked with them for many years. And that's what I like. And that's what I've always told you to do. What what you love to do, and this is what you love to do, and I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very happy. I'm very emotional over all of it. When I saw the logo and I saw the pictures and I saw, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Thanks, Mom.
And
I appreciate it.
thank you for including me.
Of course. And I want to make sure that I give recognition where recognition is due. And I want you to know that the biggest spark of inspiration for anything related to coming back to brain damage was Tyler.
No, it's all
So
you, man.
Thank
no,
you.
this
I'm just your
no,
sounding board.
no, 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 no. This is
Mhm.
important because I would say maybe a year or 2 years ago, Tyler gave me a call and he had an idea for something. For your knowledge, he's in Louisiana. So, we've been friends for over a decade. We have not been in the same room in person yet. We have not formally met,
Wow.
which is crazy. But he had a vision and an idea of a business he wanted to start. And part of it was integrating our love of indie and indie supporting of comic books. And he brought up the idea of kind of bringing back the brand to support indie comics. And it's not something that ever came to fruition, but it lit a spark under my ass, and just thought about how many ways could it make sense. My wife and I have dabbled around the idea of having a toy store, because the running joke for people that know me is like, when are you gonna have your own store? When are you gonna have a toy store? Look at your room, and
Yep.
Mhm.
I grew up around it, and I worked retail for so much, so like people thought that that's my calling. But I think the creative stuff is much more near and dear to my heart. And it just made sense. And the other pivotal inspiration was you, Mom, because I know you've been writing your story for so long, and that's something that I want to help you find a way to finish, because it's important. Because again, you are an unsung hero in our world. And
Thank
we may not have the biggest audience, but I know that the people that watch our shows find value, because we're not here talking nonsense. We're talking real life and real connections. And Tyler and I started this to help celebrate people that are passionate about things that they do. And
you.
you are passionate in supporting your children to be
Yeah.
what they want to be, and you
Mhm.
are such an important part of that. And this show, it was important because we get to share that with the world, because I never want to get to an opportunity where I can't share the credit where credit's due. I'm not a selfish person. You are a big part of the reason I'm not. I've always
Mhm.
believed in helping others succeed first. And we're at an early stage of things, but formally this is really the first time we're talking about all of this stuff.
Mhm.
So I figured while we're here, I can just kind of give everybody a glimpse of why we're talking so much about brain damage comics and what that is. So essentially, I've been writing stories for many years, and just never really did much with them other than write music, because that's what I knew, and that's what I
Mhm.
always felt I was destined to do. And while I'm not stopping, I've been inspired to just try to take some of these stories and put them in a medium that I grew up around. So it's truly like a full circle moment. And it's so important to do this with you, Mom. So thank you for being a part of it.
Mhm.
And so everybody, this is our official website. It is braindamagecomics.com. And the back splash page is, if you look really careful, you'll see the back screen of our show. The back page is the original store that we're referencing, and the artwork is an inspiration that comes into our first comic that we're sharing.
Mhm.
So with this, a little mug of me, my pops. And unfortunately we don't have pictures of my mom, because guess who was taking the pictures?
Mom, so the
Ma-
photographer.
Momma Rose, the
Hmm.
photographer, all day.
That was the
So
first tour.
yeah, so
Mhm.
we put these up on purpose. That's the first store too. Funny enough, that's also the
Mhm.
first store, and this is the second store. This is Memory Lane, and that's me in the second store as well. So really, this site is dedicated to showing people what we're about. So it's a small team. It's myself and my artist Juan Castellone, who I've boasted about on this show 9 million times over, and will never
We'll
not
do it
boast about
again.
him
Yep.
all
Every
day.
time.
You know,
Yes.
he is most of Neon Arcadia's art, all of Press for Time's art, and everything moving forward is been with him, and it's such an important part of where we are. So this is our first story that we're out to tell, which is a revisiting of some characters that I created with some friends 10 years ago, funny enough. And we did a web comic online, and you didn't hear about it, and we stopped doing it. And it was very unceremonious, and I thought what better way to have a way to start and give people a proof of concept than to revisit those characters and kind of give them proper closure. So that is just a taste of what's coming. We have a story that came from a dream of mine. This was literally a dream that I woke up that morning and somehow remembered the entire story and have been building that out ever since. This is something that is in the works. Another special one, a wacky, wacky, wacky story. Ace Bumpers, the Flamingo Man, a bird at a time. I mean, we go on and on. There's a lot of diversity here, which is really cool. A horror story that I'm writing, which is a slasher about a crazed man that's taken over a supermarket and is making sure that all the contestants, are fighting to the death, literally. And this one, I will tease. This one is the most important for one particular reason, because this is going to be the story that's going to dive into a lot of personal stuff. It's going to tie into the store, the relevancy of my childhood, and how all of my creativity kind of intertwines into a fantastical story that kind of is almost like a loose retelling of me growing up with weird elements that are not real. But that's really the gist of it. And then, if you're interested in checking out the site, we have our portfolio, because Juan and I have worked together for about 8 years now, and we have done art for ourselves, for Press for Time. We've done it for my music. We've been fortunate enough to be hired as, either consultants, and we do commission work for people, and it's a lot of stuff that I do on the backside that a lot of people don't realize. And I thought it was important to share. This is part of the reason why I'm pressed for time, because I'm grinding and grinding, but I always believe that we might be pressed for time, but we make time for things that are important to us. And Tyler and I will always make time for ourselves. It's just life happens. We have kids, we have families, and we know that when the content's ready, the people will appreciate it. So that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to come across and show everybody. So you don't have to keep wondering, what the hell is this guy doing in the background? He's not around. What comic crap is he talking about? This is it.
And I can stop editing it out when I accidentally say something on a show like, "Oh, Benny's not here. He's working on the comic." Like, darn it. Got to edit it out because we haven't announced it yet.
No, it's nice and formal now. So, but again, Tyler, thank you again for being on this journey with me. And
yeah, man,
I know Tyler's going to be part of it. He's going to be helping with everything as well. So
it's a pleasure to meet you too.
You too. Has Benny? So I have one Momma Rose question. Has Benny been this creative and tenacious his entire life, or did this come about once he was an adult?
All his life.
Yep, I believe
Since
that.
he was in my belly. Yes. Benny listened to Mozart and Beethoven and Bach while he was in my belly. And when he was born, I had a little cassette in his crib listening to music, because we do come from a musical background also. So it was always in him. He's been like this all his life.
I believe it. Well, you did a wonderful job. You have a great son, somebody that's very important to me in so many ways. And it's so wild for that to be the case with, the way the internet works now, and the fact that we've been able to be such good friends for so long, despite never stepping foot into the same state at the same time. It's just a testament to who he is and who you raised. So,
No, thank you.
Thanks,
I'm very
bud.
proud of
Appreciate
him,
that.
who he is and who he's growing up to be.
Thank you, Mom, again for taking the time to sit with us and
Yeah,
give us a
anytime.
moment to celebrate you. You are the Momma Rose, and
Thank you.
anybody that loves me needs to love you because I what do they say? There's something about off your cloth, like I'm
yep.
just like you in so many ways. I mean, we said it offline before. Our colors were not planned, but
They
this is
were,
just
and I
this is
said,
just
look, we have the same colors.
I said this is me and my mom. That's just how we are, and
Mhm.
you know, um, I'm fortunate every Wednesday when I drive home from the day job. Me and Momma Rose have a conversation the entire way home, and
Mhm.
that's how we keep in contact. And I'll leave a little value because a lot of people don't realize, on my other social medias, I do videos that are a little more motivational, inspirational. I inadvertently separate things, but
Mhm.
value the time that you have with the people that you love because at the
Right.
end of the day, tomorrow's never promised.
Mhm.
Regrets will stay with you forever. And we are in a digital age where, in my opinion, there's no excuse because I can't see my mom every day. We don't live too far, but it can be, there are variables. My son has a lot of allergies. She has a cat. There's just a lot of things that we consider,
Right.
but we find a way to make it work. And while it
Mhm.
might not be every day, once a week is a bare minimum. And like, we just find a way to work.
Mhm.
There are people that I would love to like stay in contact with, but everybody works different. But just take that time to embrace somebody that's close to you, that you have an emotional attachment to, somebody maybe you haven't seen in a long time, because at the
Right.
end of the day, you never know. And the last thing I'm going to leave with is the importance of this first book goes back to the childhood. And the reason that it does is because there's another unsung hero that, unfortunately I don't talk about in public eye, but it's important to mention because it ties into that message, which is I had a childhood uncle that was not blood related, that was one of my mom's best friends and my dad's best friends, and took care of me in ways that people don't do unless you're their child. Okay. This man was around for me all the way up into my mid teens. And he was one of the first people that could financially help me pick music as something to do. Because, by the time I decided I wanted to do music, our life was upside down. We lost everything. My mother and I and my sister were homeless at a point. That's why I made the important point that I had everything, but then I had nothing, and we had nothing. But this man was one of those few people that took the time and believed in me the way my mother did and made sure that I stuck to my ground and did what I wanted to do with music. And he invested in me. Money, it's not about the money, but he gave me the encouragement to do what I do. And the reason that I can play multiple instruments is because this man gave me a tool that allowed me to do that. And unfortunately, getting that instrument was the last time I'd see him. And I wouldn't know that because we disconnected. As my mom said, everybody went their own ways. Shit happens, right? Life happens. People move on. People just, you're trying to survive. And I spent 25 years, 25 years trying to find this man again.
Me
And,
too.
and what was it, Mom? Like a month ago? A
Yeah.
month ago, Mom and I were on the phone. She got the itch in me again because, like, sometimes you do things, then you stop, and then oh, maybe I'll revisit it. And I got hungry to look again. And I said, I'm 40, I'm in my 40s. I've learned so much. I know the internet. Maybe I can find something, and sometimes you don't find what you want to find. So I found out he passed. He passed several years ago. Didn't get to see him, didn't get to say goodbye, didn't get to say thank you. It's an important message because it broke me for several days, because it's just one of those moments where I really thought about how important it is to be selfless, because my mom tells me stories all the time, and some of it ties back to her trying to discover her family and her childhood that she didn't have, and people always center things around money. Oh, you just want to find money, you just want this, you just want that. All I wanted, and all I ever want in life when I can, is to thank people, because without the interactions we have with every person in this world, we wouldn't be who we are.
That's right.
And that man is such an important part of my life, that that page that I shared with the characters in the comic visiting the store, that character is heavily inspired by that person. So formally, I want to just share that when that book comes out, it's going to be dedicated to him, because if I can leave a legacy on physical paper now I can leave a legacy and remind people what it's like to be for others and to do for others, and not always put your hand out and ask for something. I put my hand out and ask how I can help you. So I just want to leave with that message. I don't mean for the ramble. It was really important. Tyler, if you have anything else, Mom, if you have anything you'd like to tell our listeners before we disconnect. I don't mean to drop it on a negative. It was just it's just I didn't want to forget to say that. It was really important.
No.
So thank you for letting me say that piece.
Always, man.
He was very important in our life, and all of us, and all of our family. He was very important. I've been looking for him too. So that day, I don't know, it's like we were supposed to find out.
Yeah.
I was broken. It's very difficult. But that's how life is, right? Such is life.
Yeah. I mean,
That's why we're
ahead.
here today. Tomorrow is not promised to no one.
Yeah.
So we have to take care of each other. Whoever you have that's alive and close, stay in touch. Don't abandon your parents. If you have your parents living, stay in touch. Even if it's for 5 minutes, call them. Hey, how you doing? I'm okay. The kids are fine. That's it. That makes me happy. I'm sure that a lot of parents, they want to hear from their babies, because you will be our babies forever, even though you're adults. But it's my baby. My other two babies, my children are all grown up, but it's good to hear from. When I don't hear from them in 2 or 3 days, I'm on the phone just to hear their voice. And you have to stay in touch with your family, whoever's close to you. Stay in touch with them, even if it's for 2 or 3 minutes. Stay in touch. And thank you for having me. I'm very happy. I'm excited. So nice to meet you, Tyler. And thank you for everything with Benny. And you too,
Oh, yeah.
Mijo. I love you. And have
Love
a
you.
good
Thank you.
night. This is
Wise.
Momma Rose.
And yeah, thank you. And those are wise words. Goose night is one of the nicest things that has been shared in this household with my mom. And you guys all know mine. Mine's pretty straightforward, but I want to leave some space for Tyler, before we disconnect.
I've gotten so used to saying it myself, I almost just cut in front of you. There's been
I-
so many episodes. I don't ever let an episode end without your signature sign off. So it'll be nice to have you doing it again.
Well, I was going to say I'd be honored if you did it, but whatever you want to do, we could do it together.
Ready?
Do it together. Do it together.
1,
2,
2, 3. Take care.
Take care and have fun.
Have fun. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.
Goose night.